Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show with me, Sean Sheehan, here on Sherdog.com. And today it's another Professional Fighters League preview as PFL 6 2022 goes down over on Friday night in the Overtime Elite Arena in Atlanta, Georgia in the United States. And I won't lie to you, this is the second time I'm recording this preview because, you know what, I decided, look, I'll get it done early, it'll be all good. Julia Budd versus Kayla Harrison. We'll talk about Kayla in a second. Got my preview done, went in, looked at my phone, and then the fight's off. So I'm out here again the next morning to record this because obviously Kaitlin Young is stepping in here to fight Kayla Harrison in the main event. And look, overall, I'll get into the fight in a second, because I actually like this fight maybe more than a lot of people might. When you look at someone with a 12-12 record or 12-12-1 against a 13-0 monster like Kayla Harrison, you might think, oh no, this is just going to be another destruction. Now, I'm not saying it won't be, but it's a very good fight for me, an exciting fight, and I'm looking forward to it, but I'll get to that in a second. I am a little bit devastated because we needed a test for Kayla Harrison in terms of not just a test in terms of, I think Kaitlin Young will be a bit of a test, and other people have been tested. Look at Mokhnatkina in her last fight. Her last two fights have gone, I think it's 26 minutes her last two fights. So it's not as if she's getting people out of there immediately, recently anyway. And you know, is that a function of her prolonging fights and things like that? Maybe a little bit, but still in all, it's not like she's she's just destroying people in her last couple of fights, and the level is definitely rising and everything like that. But I just think the Julia Budd fight was the perfect fight in terms of Kayla Harrison climbing the ranks. 13-0 now. I think everyone is ready for Kayla Harrison to fight. Look, everyone's ready for her to fight Cyborg or fight Nunes or whoever Juliana Pena, whoever the top person might be. But I also think people are probably ready for her to fight a contender just below them. And like Julia Budd, she was the second best fighter in Bellator at that weight division until obviously she left there last year behind Chris Cyborg. So let's say Kayla Harrison had gone to Bellator last year. She had to fight number one contender. Well, it'd be Julia Budd. So that fight to me was one of those fights that it was a great test. It would show us where Kayla Harrison was in her career. Now we know how good Kayla Harrison is. Anyone who knows anything about MMA knows how good Kayla Harrison is. But that fight to just confirm it, that fight to show everyone, to leave no doubt, and there is no doubt, but to do it, to put us over the hump of there being no doubt, it would have been great to get that one with Julia Budd. Now, there was some issues. Julia Budd lost her last fight. Okay, her opponent missed weight and she still had the 3 points and everything like that. That was a big issue, and something that actually made the fight on my first preview that I did a while ago, made the fight maybe as not as big as it should have been if she had gotten through it and if it had maybe been the final or whatever. But I don't know how the cookie is going to crumble now here if this fight is able to go on again this year. Maybe if Julia Budd gets through and fights in the playoffs or whatever, maybe there's an injury or something else where she's able to get back in. Not sure how serious this injury is, or maybe it's going to be next year before they fight again, because it looks like Kayla Harrison is getting back into coming back next year, because didn't she sign a 3-year contract or something like that? So I think it might be a little bit of a blessing in disguise in terms of Julia Budd might be able to come back in, get 2 wins next year, and they might be able to meet in the semi-final or final. You'd hope in the final, if the PFL could work it out that way and that they could meet in the final, that'd be absolutely perfect. But having said that, by that time Kayla Harrison will be 14-0 here, 15-0, 16-0 to get to the final. Then 3 more fights next year. That's 19 fights before she gets that big test. Now, you never know. Maybe they'll sign Holly Holm, or they'll sign, someone next year to go into that division and she'll get that test before that. But it is a pity. It really is a pity that test right now wasn't got for Kayla Harrison. But having said that, I think Kaitlin Young is a good test. Honestly, I really like Kaitlin Young. Her fight against Julia Budd was a very, very close fight. When was it? It was October of last year, so not that long away, or not that far away at all. I was surprised a little bit. Now, obviously, Julia came in and lost her next fight, so maybe it's more about where Julia is in her career than anything else. Maybe she isn't as, at the top level anymore, and that's something that maybe remains to be seen over her next couple of fights. But I thought she performed very well in that fight. I went back just before this video and watched the Cindy Dandois fight. And Cindy Dandois is a judoka as well, so a good fight to watch coming in here now. Nowhere near the level technically or athletically as Kayla Harrison, but still she's looking for that judo throw. And I thought the one thing I really liked about Kaitlin Young in that fight was her ability to just be loose on the feet and elusive on the outside. And if she can do that against Kayla Harrison, I'm not saying she has a chance. I'm not saying she's going to come in here and win, but don't make yourself easy to take down. She's proven she can do that. Don't make yourself easy to hit. In that Cindy Dandois fight, she's proven she can do that as well. And, as I said, she's someone who's lost 12 times, but 6 of those have been decisions. Last 3 by submission, last 3 by KO. And she hasn't been finished in a very, very long time. It's back in 2012. No, 2012. She lost to Leslie Smith and she lost to Liz Carmouche as well. But her losses since then: Lauren Murphy decision, Raquel Kunto by decision, Pam Sorensen by decision, and the last 2 were split decision losses: Julia Budd and Marina Morais, both in the PFL. So it's not as if she's an easy out. What is it? 10 years since she's been finished in a fight. So she's drawn with Leslie Smith as well. She's beaten Julie Kedzie back in the day. She's a win over Misha Tate, and that was a long, long time ago, back in 2007. But I like Kaitlin Young. I've always liked Kaitlin Young. I think she's a good fighter, and not to go, as I said, full race FO or anything here and promote this card. But I do like this fight, and I do like I do like a lot of the fights on this card, honestly. And you know what? One thing about the PFL as well, before I move on to the Rory MacDonald and Sadibou C fight, I like that these fights all have meaning. Usually you have, let's say, right, in the UFC, you had one of the very good up-and-comers, Kayla Harrison. It's funny to say Kayla Harrison's a good up-and-comer, but you know what I mean? Someone like, I don't know, a very, Chimaev, on a similar kind of run as Kayla Harrison, and then he's supposed to fight, a very Sean Brady or someone like that, and then Sean Brady gets injured and he's fighting someone who is down the rankings or something, and it doesn't have as much meaning. Maybe it won't get you a title shot, maybe it won't bring you on. Whereas in the PFL, that Kayla Harrison has to win this fight to get to the semi-finals, to get to the final, to win the $1 million. Rory MacDonald has to go in and beat C. All the fighters on this card are fighting for something. Even guys who lost the last time out, if they go and get a first round finish here, get 6 points, they could get into the playoffs very quickly. So that's the one great thing about the PFL. And the one thing I really enjoy about it is all the fights matter. In a world where more fights have no meaning than ever before, it just what was that, the heavyweight? I can't even remember what. I did a video on it a couple of weeks ago, but that heavyweight fight, was it Volkov and Rosenstruck? Was that it? It's like, I remember tweeting, it was the number 7 and number 8 in the world, and after the fight, all this meaning, the winner is going to be number 7, the loser is going to be number 8, and that's all the meaning it had. They're not going to be fighting for the titles, they're not going to be rising the ranks, they're not going to be going anywhere, and it really has, look, it is meaning for them in that they get money, and they get a good win, or they get a setback, which is obviously a negative meaning and all of that. In the PFL, it's a little bit different, and I enjoy it. And you know what? I wasn't really sold on the format and all coming in to the first few seasons and things, but I like a lot of the stuff they've done. I really, really do. I really enjoy it. And having previewed these cards for the last year or so, and being able to look in depth at them and look at all the fights and the meaning of the fights, and the very first fight on the night, unless it's a warm-up fight for next year, but even then, it's good to see it. Like, look at Montes versus Mokhnatkina. They both lost in their last fight, but if one of them gets a first round finish here, there's 6 points, and they could very well get into the playoffs, and they could have a massive fight again, and they could have a chance, to win the $1 million. What if Kayla Harrison gets injured? What if Kayla Harrison gets beaten somehow? then there's £1 million, and any of them could really win it. You know, the Pacheco Fabian fight, we'll get to all of these in a second. But all these fights have meaning. You know, you have one injury, Kayla Harrison slipping on the banana peel, and everyone else is in with a chance of winning £1 million. You know, it's very, very fun. It's a fun format. It gives all the fighters a great kind of outlet. And I've said it before. So a guy like Shoefest, who won last week or 2 weeks ago, even now at this stage, to go over, and he did like a good career in the UFC, but kind of a middle of the rankings type of guy. Is he ranked? Is he not ranked? He comes over to the PFL, he wins £1 million. You know, and every fight that he has matters. Every fight that he has is a big fight to get him to a place for an even bigger fight and then a massive fight at the end of it. So that's what I really like about the PFL, and I think I think a lot of people, if they did watch it, and if they did follow the kind of not necessarily the format itself, because it's hard to keep up with the points and everything like that, but follow the actual meanings of every fight. And I think the commentary do a great job as well. You come in and go, right, this guy needs a first round finish here or he's out. That's the sort of jeopardy that we don't get in MMA most of the time. And okay, you call it a gimmick, and it is in a little bit of a way as well. But at the end of that gimmick, you have £1 million, so it's very real. And I enjoy that. And it's fun. But let's talk about the rest of the card here. Right, let's go down through the card. I want to pick out a few of the fights and concentrate maybe on them a little bit more than the other ones. And I want to talk about Rory MacDonald versus Sadibou C, because a very interesting fight. You look at Rory MacDonald, right, and you think of Rory, he's a big, tall fighter, usually bigger than people, usually a longer reach than his opponents and everything like that. But if you look at Sadibou C, and I'm sure my good friend John Brannigan has it up here on the screen, he's 6'3". You know, he's 35 years of age. He's a big guy coming out of Sweden, 16 fights deep in his career. And I think this is actually going to be a very interesting test for Rory MacDonald. And I'll explain to you why in a second. But if you look at his last couple of years in the PFL, he's kind of had an up and down time of it, I suppose. Debuted for the PFL all the way back in 2018. He actually 2018 lost to Bruno Santos, then beat Caio Magalhães. He drew with Bruno Santos then after that. He lost the fight, then he won a fight, then he lost the fight, then he drew with Ray Cooper, no contest against Al-Silawi, then he came back, fought Al-Silawi the last time and beat him by a split decision in that one, lost to Magomedkerimov and won a fight against Kunchenko before that as well. So it's been a back and forth mad time for Sadibou C in his PFL career. But what he is long and athletic and strong and hits hard. Now, he doesn't maybe use his length in a boxing way as well as someone like Rory MacDonald does. But what he does do is he kicks those front kicks up through the middle, leg kicks and things like that, which have maybe not devastating power, but they're dirty little ones. You know, they'll skin off your chest, or they'll hit into the side of your leg and then might rattle you a little bit. Those are the type of shots that if you're someone like Rory MacDonald, who over the last few years now, I'll talk about this in a second, how maybe has adjusted a little bit, but has been more of like your straight, staunch, stand-up fighter, throwing your jab, throwing your 1-2s right down through the middle and your further combinations even. That sort of fighter who is, I wouldn't call him unorthodox or anything like that, but he doesn't throw the orthodox stuff all the time. It's going to be a little bit of a problem, I think, for Rory MacDonald. Now, if Rory can go in there, right, straight away, land his jab, stop him from landing all those kicks, maybe throw in a takedown and get it there, maybe none of this will actually, will make any difference. But what if he can't? You know, what if C is landing a few of those shots? What if he is landing little dirty kicks to the inside of the knee and, you know, punches on the break and throwing a few flying knees and things like that? What if that does happen here? And I think it could be a rough night for Rory MacDonald. And I think a lot of that comes down to where C is at in his career. Because if he is confident enough to take on someone like Rory like that, I think he could have some success. But there's a very, very thin line between being confident and being overconfident, because you are overconfident, Rory will catch that leg, he'll put you on the ground, take you down, and you're probably not getting back up. Or you'll walk into a beautiful jab and then you'll walk into a right hand coming after it, and Rory will keep you at the end of that jab for the whole night. And the next time you think about coming in, what are you thinking about? You're thinking about getting that jab in your face, and you're getting nothing off, and what comes in again? That jab in the face again. And that's the problem for fighting Rory MacDonald. So A very intriguing fight, that one. I really like these top 2 fights. Now, a lot of people might see it and say, oh, it's Rory MacDonald against Sadibou. Who is he? Is he that good, or whatever it might be? But he is. You know, he is a good fighter, and I think Rory MacDonald will. I think he'll win. I do think he'll win, but I think C is the type of guy who is, I wouldn't say a bad matchup for Rory, but a nastier matchup than maybe some other guys in that division. So one to keep an eye on without a shadow of a doubt there in the welterweight division. Also in the welterweight division, a massive fight for Ray Cooper the third. Obviously came out the last time, and I've spoken about a few of the fighters in the PFL, and if you proved me wrong last time, like Nathan Schultz 2 weeks ago, and a few others as well, it's kind of saying they've been in the PFL for a while. They've won it a couple of times. Is it maybe time to move on? Is it maybe time for maybe another challenge? And after that loss to Miranda, or he missed weight and everything like that, maybe it was looking like Ray Cooper is kind of out with the PFL a little bit, or out in terms of like his motivation to kind of do it again, because it's very hard in the PFL. You do it, then you're back to square one. You do it again, you're back to square one. To do that 3-4 times, that must be very, very difficult, just from a mindset point of view, in terms of preparing the correct way. And, he missed weight. Maybe it was an injury. Maybe it was something like that. Don't get me wrong now. I'm not sure. I'm not saying he didn't prepare right or anything like that. Maybe it was something else. But I think just from a mental point of view, I think that could be something that guys like Ray Cooper, guys like Schultz, guys like Wade even, or Lance Palmer might be feeling a few years in. Maybe they could do it a year even off of the tournament, or a year away and come back, or something like that. I know that they've been talking about the PFL and Bellator cards versus each other. The forbidden door, maybe you'd want to call it. I think something like that for someone like a Ray Cooper might be bad. Go over, have a few fights in Bellator, come back for the 2024 season or something. But anyway, forget about that. I suppose this weekend he's fighting Brett Cooper, who himself lost to the aforementioned Rory MacDonald last time out. He had a couple of good wins before that, though. He won once in last year's PFL, on kind of a signing fight, I suppose you would call it, and he had a couple of wins over in ACA as well before that, and he fought a lot of the tough guys there in that promotion as well over the last few years, once he kind of left the Bellator scene back in 2014. But look, I think this is a good fight to rebound for Ray Cooper. Brett Cooper is the type of guy who will come forward, go at you, but play into your hands a little bit. And I think if Ray Cooper can land these big shots, land on Brett Cooper. If Ray Cooper can land on Brett Cooper, this is going to be an awkward one. Shout out to my guy Kenny Florian and the other lads over there. This is going to be a tough one to commentate on. But I think if Ray can land on Brett, it'll be lights out, honestly, because he's big power, and he only needs one. I don't think it's even the sort of fight he'll be behind in, honestly. I think he'll probably win this fight pretty handily and get the finish there. Then we have Magomedkerimov coming back here, and he's fighting Joao Zeferino. Joao has been around the PFL now for a good while. Another guy who made his debut for the PFL back in, was it 2017? Am I looking at here? Yeah, and he was in the regular season in 2018. He's beaten some good guys. He's beaten Gleison, Tibau. He went on a 5-fight win streak in the professional fighters league, and he beat Bojan Vililovic as well, and others. 17 submissions in his career. We know what he's all about. Magomedkerimov, sorry. Another one of these guys, if you're a fan of the PFL, you're probably a fan of Magomedkerimov, because he's been around fighting in there for a good while as well, back since 2018, and even in the PFL or in the World Series of Fighting before that. He has some very, very good wins. He's beaten Ray Cooper, beaten Curtis Melinder, beaten Sadibou, but he lost to Ray Cooper last time out when everyone thought he was going to be the champion again. But he got knocked out with that big right hand, I believe it was. God, my memory doesn't serve me great at this stage. Now this is where John pops up a picture of the knockout blow that he landed to remind me. But look, Magomedkerimov is a brilliant fighter. He's a really good wrestler, a very good striker. Training now in American Top Team, it says here over on Sherdog.com. 19 finishes in his career, and I think on the feet, I think he beats Joao Zeferino. On the ground, I think he beats him as well. I think what did Habib say once? If Sambo was easy to be called BJJ, and I think he might show that here. But it's fun to see Magomedkerimov back, one of the staples, as I mentioned, of PFL, and he will put on a good fight here, I am sure. On is it Friday, Saturday night? I don't know, whatever. Let me look here. The 1st of July is a Friday. I love the Friday night cards. I don't know about you, I think they're the best. So yeah, let's do it. Then we have Magomed Umalatov, who is 11-0 against Jarrah Al-Silawi. We saw Jarrah last time out, and he beat Gleison Tibau. Beat Michael Lilly before that in the Challenger series, and they were kind of talking about him being sorry, my voice went mad. They were talking about him about being this new sort of guy, but this lad has been around for a long time, fighting on cage warriors back in 2000 and 2013, 2014. Fought some good guys even back then. Has fought Daniel Iskatizi, who's in Bellator at the moment, years ago in 2017, and has fought Ismail Nordayev, and Tibau last time out even. So this guy is a guy who I think we need to take maybe a little bit more seriously. Very, very good fighter. But Umalatov is also a very good fighter. Big knockout power, 9 knockouts in his 11 fights. Another guy fighting out of, Habib's gym, Eagles MMA, and had a few fights in EFC, came over for PFL, fought a couple of times last year, and now he's coming back fighting here again. I'd say another one of these guys who wasn't able to make it over due to the visa issues and stuff like that. So, another big fight here for the PFL. Al-Silawi, it's a big fight for him. If you look at I mentioned the standings, he's one of these lads that is on 3 points. He's in the playoffs at the moment, so to keep his place there, he will need a big performance and maybe even a victory here on Friday night. I'll just finish off the welterweights then. Aleksakhin, who I mentioned before, he's fighting Gleison Tibau. They both have a loss in their first outing of this year, so one of them is going to need a big win. Like this is the fight that they should be coming out. They should be looking for the first round finish in that one. And Tibau, I don't know. I think maybe I think it might be tougher for him, although he never performs badly. Tibau never performs badly, but he's getting on in age now. This could be his last fight in the PFL, and I suppose we'll see how it goes for him. Then we will get to the women's lightweights, because it's a very, the standings are very, very close this year. Just go through them quickly again. Obviously, we have Pacheco on 6 points, and then Harrison, Jindrova, Kolesnyk, both on 3 points, and then Montes, Melo, Mokhnatkina, Favilova, and Fabian Fabian's on -1. In fact, the others are all on 0, because obviously she missed weight, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm a big fan of lots of these women. Like that Pacheco versus Fabian fight, that's a great fight. Like Pacheco has been the second best woman in that division over the last few years. There's no doubt about it. She was the champion a few years ago, wasn't she, if I'm not mistaken, before Kayla Harrison came around, and she's won her last 3 in a row. If you take out the Kayla Harrison fight, she's won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or 6 of her last 8 fights, only losing to Kayla Harrison since 2015. Now she had a bit of a break in there, and before that, she was fighting in the UFC against the Randomy and who did she fight? Jessica Andrade as well, champions over there. So she's a very, very good fighter, very good all-around fighter. She's 8 wins, 7 submissions, 7 knockouts. Her last 3 fights in a row all ended in a first round knockout. And Fabian, coming out of her part of the world, City Kickboxing over New Zealand, what type of fighter she's going to be. Like, she's going to be a kickboxing fighter. She is 3 of her 5 wins via knockout. She's only had 7 fights, 5 wins, 2 losses, but one of them was to Kayla Harrison. So, it's I would say it's the biggest fight of her career, but she beat Julia Budd in her last fight. So this is a high-level fight. This is a very, very good fight. And you might think, this women's lightweight division is just Kayla Harrison. But there's some good fighters in this division. And this is a very, very good fight. And, we've always talked about in MMA, if you build it, they will come. And the fact that Kayla Harrison has been in this division, and she's given the opportunity, to some of these other women to be in the division, someone like a Pacheco, someone like a Fabian have gotten opportunities. And for me, as someone who has watched all these PFL shows and covers all of these shows, I think they've taken those opportunities in a big way, and lots of times now, not against Harrison, obviously, but this is a fight I'm really looking forward to because of their past fights and because of that opportunity that has been there for them. So that to me is, the standout fight apart from the main event in the women's lightweight division on this sixth PFL card of the year. The others as well, you look at Helena Kolesnyk, and she was coming into that fight, and I picked Abigail Montes to win that fight. And, I think she's very good. Obviously, she beat Claressa Shields in her last fight. Helena was coming in off of a good few losses in a row, but to some, top quality fighters. And, she lost to Pam Sorensen, who we saw a couple of weeks ago. Felicia Spencer, who was right up there fighting for titles in the UFC, Taylor Gordado, and Larissa Pacheco as well. So there was no shame in any of those losses, and it was a very good performance. I also think it's no shame for Abigail Montes to lose that fight, and she's coming back here. She's fighting Marina Mokhnatkina, who went all 3 rounds with Kayla Harrison the last time. Was she the only one to ever do that? I don't know, but 2 wins in a row before that. Okay, she lost a couple of fights to Genah Harding and Joao. One in Bellator and one in FNG. Before that, obviously, she'd won 4 fights in a row. So, some fighters with good records here, and that's another big fight. I think, Montes, I watched a lot of her fights before the Claressa Shields fight. Very well-rounded fighter, good on the ground. Mokhnatkina, that's kind of the Sambo background, and I suppose a lot of that was why she was able to survive at times against Kayla Harrison as well. So that... it's hard to know what type of fight that'll actually turn into. Mokhnatkina's fighting out of Sanford MMA these days as well. So you're getting very good training there. You're going to be a good fighter when you're coming out of that gym. So that's another fight that I'm really looking forward to. All 4 of her finishes have been by submission. So Montes, if she does take the fight to the ground, she'll have to. I suppose she'll have to watch out a few arm bars, a few Achilles locks, and stuff like that, a knee bar even on the record of Mokhnatkina. So. That one is definitely one to watch out for too. And the last fight, I kind of mentioned it already. Sorry, there's 2 fights. The Jindrova fight against Zamagul, and then the Vanessa Melo fight against Helena as well. Obviously, Helena beat Montes the last time. It looked very good. I thought coming into that fight, I thought she looked a little bit slow in her previous fights, but I think she looked good in that one. And Vanessa Melo, she lost to Jindrova last time up, but she beat Sarah Morais in the UFC before that. And she had 3 or 4 fights in the UFC. Okay, she lost a few of them, to go out of the UFC on a win is something we don't see that often. She's beaten Molly McCann a few years ago as well. So she's a very, very good fighter. Fighting down the weights and coming up the weight now. And Helena is a big, she probably couldn't get down to like the 125 like some of Melo's opponents could. So she's a bigger athlete for that division. That might play a part as well. I said that the last time, and it turned out to be the case in that Jindrova fight. Jindrova, obviously, she's fighting Zamagul as well, and she's on a 2-fight win streak in the PFL. Zamagul, I was impressed with her watching some of her fights coming in, but then she's fighting Pacheco. Hard to show her quality on that one. 4 finishes in her 7 fights as well, and she'll be looking to prove a point here. So all in all, lots to look forward to, I suppose, on this PFL card. All right, I will leave it there. Let me know which fight you're looking forward to most in the comments section below, and we will talk again, I suppose, next week. My name is Sean Sheehan for SureDog.com, and I'll see you all next time.